Alright guys, round 2 underway. We've got two players who are 1-0 on the left. We've got Nick Patel. He has never played under a feature match camera before, but he has played here many weeks. And finally found an opportunity to get him into our feature match area. And he's playing an interesting green-white enchantment deck. I did not like where I'd put those records at in the title bar. It is a sphere of safety deck, he says. So we'll see how much of a hexproof deck it is versus how much of a control deck it is. Shortly, we'll learn together as a group and all that fun sort of stuff. His opponent, stream regular Jonathan Wright, half of the eponymous Wright brothers. And he is playing his tried and true Esper Control. So Nick just playing Drawgo here, setting up his draws with a couple green-white scry lands. Jonathan cycling an Azorius Charm and then landing a Jace Architect. A Thought under no pressures is going ahead and draw some cards, revealing Temple of Enlightenment, Temple of Silence, and a Doomblade. So based on what Nick has in his hand here, we'll either give him the Doomblade or the... Yep, so prioritizing that removal spell. Jonathan apparently content with his lands in hand, turning down the card advantage for some removal. Question in the chat whether that's an original iPhone. It is not an original iPhone, but it is, I think, a second series iPod Touch. Or as I call it, it is an excellent... I don't know what that card is. I'm going to have to go out and check. That iPod is basically just a life total for this. That's all I use it for. Gotcha. So that is a Johnny's Chosen. So let's take a look at that as Jonathan ticks up his Jace and then scries with the blue-white Temple. He just passes back. We know he has that Doomblade in hand, so that a Johnny's Chosen. As soon as Nick makes a move here, he's gonna Doomblade that creature. No reason to do it now. So interesting here. I think Nick missed his own Johnny's Chosen trigger, but rather than use the Doomblade, Azorius... Now they're remembering and backing it up there. So there is the there is the 2/2 cat token. Jonathan is going to dig again, revealing a Last Breath, a Syncopate, and a Plains. Going with original art on all of those, or at least Ice Age art on the Plains. I guess original means it had to be an alpha, but... And again, it's removal or no. That's the split from Nick, and this time Jonathan is going to take the 2-card pile. So, counter magic in hand, and the land gives him the 6-1 he needs to land an Elspeth. Go ahead and make it 3 tokens, and this game getting quickly out of hand here for the homebrew. So Jonathan has assembled his super friends here, and Nick is in a world of hurt. Esper, is it a Grove of the Burn Willows? No, Burn Willows, Grove of the Guardians. I guess in this deck it's fine enough to play some for fun. Esper is not the kind of deck that gives the homebrew decks any kind of room to navigate. There is an Eidolon of Countless Battles, adding as well to the enchantment theme here. And he will attack with his cat token from the Johnny's Chosen, and Jonathan is content to trade 2 of his soldier tokens for it. So Jonathan serves in with his 1 soldier token, makes a fresh batch of 3 more. Probably going to tick up that Jace and just sit back on Syncopate. That Eidolon not any threat as it currently sits. We know he still has that Doomblade in his hand from the original Jace split as well. So I'm trying to think, not having any real idea what's in Nick's deck, other than the Sphere of Safeties he told him about, and I'm assuming there are some Ethereal Armors in here too. There's a Spear of Helion, also an enchantment. So the Eidolon, well, it's each aura you control, so it's not enchantment. So it doesn't matter. Syncopate's going to answer that anyway. Jonathan with an abundance of riches at this point, where he can now afford to syncopate nearly irrelevant spells. Jonathan reminding Nick about the delayed Jace trigger, so that is an attack for 0. And he's not going to back up, but he is going to cycle a Celestial Charm here, give it +2/+2s, actually get him for 2 damage. I think at this point Nick is just playing for the fun, as it is going to be nearly impossible for him to come back from this position of facing down an Elspeth and a Jace and a control opponent with a healthy stock of cards in hand. So Elspeth ticks up yet again, bringing Jonathan's soldier token count to 7. And he can just sit back and go ultimate next turn if he wants to here. We know he has that Doomblade, so he doesn't even need to block. He's got 16 life, so he can just take the damage if he wants to. I can't really think of anything that... I mean, if Nick lands a Sphere of Safety here, even if he plays another enchantment to go along with it, Jonathan would have to pay 3, but there's very, very little chance that Jonathan's not sitting on some kind of counter magic at this point. So there's another Eidolon, and then a Unflinching Courage on said Eidolon, or on the one that's active. So he'll be able to attack for 1, 2, 3, but that's going to eat the Doomblade that we already knew about, and leave Nick dead on board and tapped out. Jonathan's just going to untap, ultimate his Elspeth, and go through the air for 21 points of damage, and that's going to be enough. Why are we not attacking for the win here? There we go. He just miscounted. 21 in the air, and that's going to be good enough. So we move on to the sideboards here. And then the week after that, FNM will be Theros block draft. So game 2 underway here. Nick on the mull to 5. Going to be up against it here. And Jonathan scrying, leaving the card on top. Cannot be the best best sign for Nick, but we'll wait and see how things play out as Jonathan shoves the second scry. We'll see if Nick has a turn 3 Eidolon. He does not. He does not have a third land, and that mulligan is starting to take its toll here. Jonathan content to shock himself here, likely to leave up Dissolve or at least a Syncopate for 2. So Nick does find a third land and Castle locks it on Smiter, which thwarts Jonathan's plans of leaving counter magic up. Let's see if he has removal for that. There's a D-Sphere that's going to answer it at sorcery speed, so Nick got free reign to resolve a spell of his choice here. Don't think he drew a fourth land, so it'll have to be another Eidolon or a Fabled Hero will do the same thing. Fabled Hero can get out of control with unflinching courage, that's for sure. And Jonathan not going to play around here and is content to just clear out. Oh. Yep. Nick, one of our newer players here, so just getting some clarification. The Smiter is in fact not in the game, as it's under the D-Sphere, but yeah, Jonathan does not want that Fabled Hero to start connecting. Content to trade a 1-for-1 verdict for Fabled Hero. I think that's a promo Banisher Priest, and Nick doesn't have anything to banish at this point, but just content to get a body on board. And Jonathan will end of turn cast himself, or he was going to main phase a Sphinx's Revelation there, looking for a land to play. It looks like, and he does find a Mutavault. Question in the chat, is he running Sphere of Safety? He is running Sphere of Safety. As we see an Ethereal Armor suited up there. End of turn, he's just going to Selesnya Charm it. So Nick, very aggressive with his Selesnya Charms here. Rather than make dudes, he wants to pump for value. There is an Elspeth. And Nick and these colors can't deal with it. After Journey of the Nyx comes out, Banishing Light will conveniently answer that Elspeth. But as of right now, don't think he has an answer to it. 5 mana for Sphere of Safety. So those soldiers will have to pay 2 apiece to attack in. Ethereal Armor is probably good at this point because of First Strike. Just chump out here. Nick just passes back. So Nick has got a little bit of a game string together here. Remember, this is a multi-5 on the play here. So trying his best to dig out of it. So just going to reload on Elspeth tokens here. Nick pounding the table in some frustration as he draws yet another land. Jonathan's going to go ahead and D-Sphere, targeting Sphere of Safety, which will allow him to attack for 5 with his team. Nick goes down to 14. And this game is starting to slowly slip away. Nick draws in the Johnny's Chosen, it looks like. But that's not going to be good enough. And he ultimates the Elspeth. Gets in for what appears to be an irrelevant amount. 24, I think, is the exact count. But that's enough. So the second time tonight we've seen a fun homebrew deck. It has some good synergy in it, but against these control decks, the creature-based combo decks, I just really don't have a leg to stand on. We've got 26 minutes left in the round, so let me go see if I can slot another match over, guys. Stay right tuned, and we'll be back here in a minute or so.